Summer's here, and you can now get almost anything you need for your sunny days delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get a chicken parmesan delivered. A cabana? That's a no. But a banana? That's a yes. A nice tan? Sorry, nope. But a box fan? Happily, yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/SBO. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm not going back to college to be your friend. I'm going so I can get Uber One for students. It saves you on Uber and Uber Eats. I'm there for $0 delivery fee on cheeseburgers, up to 10% off smoothies, and 6% Uber cash back on rides. Just to be clear, I'm there for savings, not whatever you think college is for.
Get Uber One for students, a membership to save on Uber and Uber Eats. With deals this good, everyone wants to be a student. Join for just $4.99 a month. Savings may vary. Eligibility and member terms apply.
What up, y'all? It's Joe Budden, here to talk about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to win real money while watching football. You can get up to 100 times your money.
Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Just download the Prize Picks app and use code SPOTIFY. That's code SPOTIFY on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Welcome to the Eagles Checkdown, right here on the Eagles Pinpool Podcast Network. I'm Phil Stiefel, bringing you the fastest under 10-minute Eagles podcast there is, bringing you all the news, notes, and opinions of our favorite football team, the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's Tuesday morning, September 24th, and we're a full day removed from the Eagles' victory over the New Orleans Saints 15-12 in Week 3. Nick Sirianni had his Monday after the game press conference, and we're here to dive into some of the thoughts and some of the things he said and some of the topics that he discussed as we get set to now in Week 4 face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who just came off a tough loss to the Denver Broncos. Not a tough loss. They just got beat by the Denver Broncos. Anyway, we'll get into that later in the week. But Nick Sirianni, he said a lot of different things. There was a lot of different topics covered in his press conference. And I want to start off discussing the opening conversation of his press conference when he was asked about all the fourth down decisions and the questionable decisions and plays that they made in those situations. And I quote Nick Sirianni here. He does what's best for the team, in his opinion, at the moment. And that's how he tried to answer his decision to go for it those 3 times and kick the field goal the other time. And then the Eagles media, I'll give him credit. The Eagles media did press and did push and did try. Brookover, there's a bunch of them that made multiple attempts to get more. And he just flat out said he is not going to answer all the time whenever he goes for it on fourth down afterwards to the media questions about him going for it and his decision why. Leave it at that. And he was pressed again, and he repeated the same answer. That's a different Nick Sirianni. That's a little testier, a little chirpier Nick Sirianni with the media than we're used to. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing or where that's coming from. Maybe he's taking bullets for the team. You know, we've seen him take bullets, you know, for Jalen Hurts' interceptions, for mistakes made by players, etc. I don't know where the chirping is. Maybe he just realizes he screwed up really bad, and he's just trying to move on from it as quickly as possible. But I was not thrilled with the way he answered it because we really didn't get any answers on why. And he also did say on the fake tush push that he not only decided to go for it, but he called the play. It was his decision to run that specific play, not Kellen Moore. And he did say here and there he does, when he decides it's necessary, make a play call. And then he tried to play it off on how he, it's a collaborative effort, blah, blah. It sounds like Nick Sirianni still has some influence on the plays that are called in the game. And that's something to keep an eye on as this season goes on, because Kellen Moore has one way, Nick Sirianni has another way. We got to see if there's going to be any issues there going forward. Or again, maybe he was just taking the bullet, for Kellen Moore calling a bad fake tush push in that moment. I would have liked the media maybe to follow it up, maybe ask a question on, did you run that fake tush push because you weren't confident in, the replacements at right guard and right tackle, or what was the reasoning? But they pressed enough and didn't get enough answers. So Nick Sirianni's attitude on, speaking to the media in those moments, something to watch. And him talking about how he is still calling plays sometimes is definitely something to watch, as a big part of the reason why he was brought back from what we've heard from the media is he was relinquishing play calling duties. And then as of yesterday, or as of Monday, he said, yeah, I still call plays sometimes. Something to keep an eye on. Speaking of right guard, right tackle, obviously, Mekhi Becton, Lane Johnson got injured, and Tyler Steen filled in at right guard, Fred Johnson at right tackle. I want to give you some stats. Fred Johnson played right tackle for 33 pass snaps. He gave up 5 pressures, 0 sacks. Tyler Steen, 36 pass snaps, no pressures, no sacks. So an excellent job done by those two individuals filling in a pinch for two guys that have been performing, Becton and Lane Johnson, at an elite level so far this season. Well done from them. And it brings an interesting question that I brought up on Twitter and didn't really get too much of a reaction on, is what should the Eagles do next week? Lane Johnson, I'm assuming, is going to be out with his concussion. Devontae Smith as well. We'll talk about the wide receivers in a second. But what do you do if Becton can go? It's a hand injury. He looked like he was close to being able to return in the game. They held him out. If Becton can go, do you put Becton at right guard where he's been playing all year, Fred Johnson at right tackle? Do you slide Becton, who is a right tackle originally, out to right tackle and keep Tyler Steen, who played really well at right guard, in right guard? Or do you stick with Steen and Fred Johnson, who seem to have great chemistry in that position? I think it's obvious you play Becton if he's ready to go. But I think it's an interesting conversation because of that chemistry Steen and Johnson showed that they had. So I'll be curious to see how that goes. And obviously, with the Lane Johnson injury and the concussion, it's very hard to return 1 week after concussion. We'll see if he's able to do that. And same thing with Devontae Smith. Again, another snippy moment when he was asked, Nick Sirianni, about whether he was submitting that hit on Devontae Smith and Darius Slay to review to the front, to the league offices about no penalties being called and any fines or suspensions. He says, I'm not talking about that. That's a private matter with me and the league. I thought that was, again, he could have given you a little bit more. For a guy that gives us so much in his press conferences, he gave us so little in this scenario. Anyway, Devontae Smith obviously out. A.J. Brown may or may not be back. His few weeks means he could be back. Like he said, I'm going to be out for a few weeks. That would put him back this week. I don't know if they should push it or not. He was asked about the confidence of the wide receiver room, going forward next week with Johnny Wilson, Johanna Dotson, Paris Campbell. And that's pretty much it, because Britton Covey has been ruled out for the next 6 weeks at least with a broken shoulder. And he says he's got great confidence, and he had lots of faith in Wilson, Johanna Dotson, Paris Campbell. Johanna Dotson, who had the big, quote-unquote pick or clogged up the middle to open up Dallas Goedert on that big 60-plus yard catch that set up the game-winning score on Sunday. He's got a lot of confidence in those three guys, he said. But he also mentioned, I also have a lot of confidence in our running back room, too. And that kind of gave me a little insight into maybe they're preparing for no Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And we heard about it in years past about Kenny Gainwell in the slot. We've seen Saquon Barkley line up in a wide receiver position. Will Shipley can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. But maybe they're going to be running some more 2 running back formations next week in Tampa Bay, to alleviate, since they have such a weak, wide receiver room. Maybe Joseph Nagata gets a couple snaps at wide receiver if he's brought up off the practice squad. It seems like Nick Sirianni and the Eagles are pretty content with what they've got at that wide receiver room. I think it's pretty good. We'll see how it goes. But the easy answer, if they're without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith next week, is to continue to feed Saquon Barkley the ball. In 2023 with the New York Giants, he averaged 3.9 yards per carry so far through 3 weeks of this NFL season. Saquon Barkley's averaging 5.6 yards per carry. Obviously, dominating. On a side note, yes, March 6th, I put out a tweet. DeAndre Swift is greater than Saquon Barkley. I was not a fan of the idea of bringing him here. I loved it once they did it, but I wasn't a fan of it. And yes, I'm owning it up that I was wrong. I was stupid for saying that. That was an in the moment tweet that I made. And, content creators, media members, whatever you want to call us, we got to admit our mistakes. And I was wrong on Saquon Barkley. I just didn't think Saquon Barkley at his age, at his price, with his mileage and injury history, was worth the investment when you could have gotten DeAndre Swift for half the price younger. We already knew he fit in our system. Saquon Barkley, we didn't know. Hey, it is what it is. I made a mistake. I'm sorry about it. Saquon Barkley through 3 weeks to me is the NFL MVP right now. And it's been since Adrian Peterson over 10, 12 years ago, since a running back's gotten it. I doubt he'll hold up to that pace the whole year, but we'll see as the season goes on. Anyway, Nick Sirianni spoke. Not thrilled with what he had to say, but we'll see what Tuesday brings. Anyway, guys, you're listening to the Eagles Checkdown right here on the Eagles Pinpool Podcast Network. I'm Phil Stiefel. If you want a longer version of this, linked below in the description is my YouTube show, Trending in the AM. I'd greatly appreciate you guys checking it out. It's Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., taking all your thoughts and opinions on the Eagles, also the Phillies, the Sixers, the Flyers, anything else you want to talk about. Sometimes we talk movies, music, you name it. We talk it on the show, the only show where your opinions matter. So, guys, I'd greatly appreciate you check it out and hit a subscribe once you go to the YouTube page. But again, this is the Eagles Checkdown on the Eagles Pinball Podcast Network. I'll be back tomorrow with more news, notes, and opinions on the Eagles. And as we end every show, go Birds, and Bubbles up to you.
Traveling to see your fave sports team is cool. But traveling with Amex Platinum for the big game is even better.
Right this way.
With access to dedicated card member entrances at select events, you can skip the line. And with access to the Centurion Lounge,
he shoots a three.
You can catch the next game on the way home. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex. Card member entrance access not limited to Amex Platinum Card.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/SBO. Terms and conditions apply.
The Volvo XC60 plug-in hybrid is about performance. Not just on the road, but in life. With not only trunk space, but room to make memories. It's electric, with a backup plan, where the only speed that matters is how fast you can slow down. The Volvo XC60 plug-in hybrid. Performance where it matters the most. Visit volvocars.com/US to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by AutoTrader. Look around. What do you see? Cars. Lots of them. And guess what? They're probably on AutoTrader. Whether you're into timeless classics or the latest trends, if you see it on the road, you can likely find it on AutoTrader. New, used, electric, and one day, maybe even flying cars. See a car? Find it on AutoTrader. Visit autotrader.com to learn more.